Hello. It's time for my devotional. Just a word of explanation for anybody who might be picking this video up a little later. I've decided to start a new thing where I'm going to be just simply doing a devotional online. It's at this point, anyways, it's not going to be something that's scheduled specifically, but from time to time, my hope is that I'll be able to do something like this maybe on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to be able to do one every day, at least as much as my schedule allows. And so this is the second one. On Tuesday of this week I did one, and I'm doing it now. I'm intending to live stream it for anybody who happens to catch it. But more than that, I'm just going to, most of you will pick it up later. But I'll live stream it just in case somebody happens to be on and wants to watch it. And also because I decided to kind of approach this whole thing a little less polished. So I've done some work, but mostly just want to kind of talk along and see without scripting it too much, and just work it as kind of a devotional. So if it's useful to you, great. I'm working my way through Proverbs. I intend to go through it probably one verse at a time, and just work my way through the book of Proverbs. So today I'll be dealing with Proverbs chapter 1, verse 2, and just some thoughts. I've written some things down, and maybe in your own devotions it might be useful to you. What I do to prepare for the moment is I just pray before I come online. I just pray to the Lord and just ask Him to help me, and then I spend some time with the text before, lots of time over my life, but before I came online, and I'm just going to then kind of go through some of my thoughts. And in your own devotional, maybe that's what you should do. Just ask the Lord to help you work through the text as well and speak to your heart. And that's the idea. Pastor Chris here at the church he preached through Proverbs. Did a really great job with it, and so I'm not trying to reproduce that. He did it more of a high level and kind of dealt with chapters at a time, and I'm intending to go verse by verse, a little different. Anyway, that's the plan. So I'm going to move into verse 2 of Proverbs, and just some thoughts for what they're worth, and God bless you in your own devotions. But here we go. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 2 says, to know wisdom and instruction, to discern the sayings of understanding. Now, what's happening is Solomon, who's writing this under God's inspiration, he's setting out in those first 7 verses of Proverbs, he's setting out what the point of the book is and what the use of this book is. And so after his introductory statement of, it's me, Solomon, speaking, he then says this, and he says to know wisdom and instruction, to discern the sayings of understanding. So right off the bat, that's what this book is about. It's to give the reader the knowledge of wisdom and instruction, and to discern the sayings of understanding. What does that mean? Well, I think for myself, as I work through this, one of the things this signals to me is that you don't come by wisdom automatically. I know some people think that way. It's like a genetic thing, that you're kind of born with it or you're not born with it, right? Some people are born with a higher IQ, so to speak. And maybe that's true. I don't know about that side of it, but I would say that wisdom is not just IQ. Wisdom is a different thing. Wisdom is the ability to understand the situations of life, the situations you're in. And it's not something that you just automatically come by. It's something that it's not just instinct. It's something that you learn. And it's something that you can learn. So, in another part of the Bible, it says if a person lacks wisdom, they can ask God, who gives generously. And so there's this intent, this idea that you can be in a state of not being a wise person, and that there is a way to get to the state of becoming a wise person. And it's training. And so Proverbs is one of those places where he's saying, here's this book. That's the point of this book, is to know wisdom, and instruction, right? So the word instruction, or to know wisdom and instruction, to be able to be trained, to learn. We don't become wise automatically, and we don't become wise necessarily easily either. It's something that takes effort, right? We have to actually put effort in our lives to being wiser people. And so that's kind of the value of the book of Proverbs, as well as, by the way, the book of Psalms and Ecclesiastics. They're all called wisdom literature. So that's part of it. So what I'm going to do with each of these is I'm going to ask a couple of questions. It won't always necessarily be the same question. Last time I kind of made it seem like I was going to follow a complete template. I'm following a guide. And so what I want to guide us through is just a couple of questions. So here's one. how can I know wisdom? This verse says, like, to know wisdom. How can I know wisdom? What does that mean? And I would say that the idea is that as we allow God to train us in wisdom, there's something that happens inside of you where you can become more and more confident and sure of wise choices. Now, we never get to a place where we think we're the be all and end all of wisdom. We should never get to that place. But you do gain a confidence as the Lord teaches wisdom. There's something that happens, and the idea of to know in the biblical sense, so to speak, kind of has implications of kind of an intimacy, right? To have an intimacy with wisdom, to be at a place where your knowledge of wisdom, which isn't from in here but it's out here, grows to the point that it starts to become internalized. And so I do start to, within myself, become a wiser person, and it gives me confidence in facing life. And it gives me the ability to face new situations that maybe are chaotic. And I mean, a lot of the time, new situations can be very intimidating, but it gives me more of a confidence in facing this new dilemma, this new situation I'm in, because I've trained in wisdom. I'm learning wisdom from the Lord. And then it also uses the word to discern, right? So how can I discern what's wise and what isn't wise? Well, once again, it doesn't come automatically. It's something that we need a teacher in. We need that instruction in, and to go through life thinking that I can just be a discerner of what's right and wrong by myself, without any kind of input into my life. What we'll tend to do is we'll tend to move to a place of kind of instinctual, reactive wisdom, where we'll go by our feelings, and we'll decide the right thing to do in any situation by simply kind of looking into our feelings and saying, well, this feels right, or that feels right, or my instincts say, or my gut tells me, and that's kind of the world's version of wisdom, and it really doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's actually disaster. We need to learn to discern what is wise in the situation, to look at a situation and discover the wise out of it. And so that's kind of what Proverbs helps you do. As you learn the tools of Proverbs, it gives you a foundation so that when you're in new situations in life, you're able to discern, well, what would the wise thing be here? And your mind will be filled with ideas from what God has taught us in Proverbs, and it'll help you make good decisions. The world kind of teaches this idea that we can learn wisdom by, observing animals or listening to children, and, out of the mouths of babes will come great wisdom. No, it won't. It won't. Out of the mouths of babes sometimes comes interesting things, but not wisdom. It's not in them. And it's not in the activities of chimpanzees or wolf packs or whatever. It's no, that's not our teacher. Our teacher is God. And that's what we need. We need to realize I need a teacher to help me learn this, and the teacher is God. So the Proverbs for us. Is wisdom all brain, or is it hard at all? So that's the third question. Do we have any reliance on our emotions and our instincts? Is that or just completely off limits? I think the best way to look at that is to realize that as we grow in wisdom up here in our brain, as we grow in knowledge and in the discernment that it speaks of, can become somewhat emotional, but only if it's led by an increase of knowledge. What happens is, as we grow in wisdom and as we acquire understanding and internalize that, it does start to train your instincts so that over time you actually can have some level of confidence of your instincts because you've learned wisdom. Right? You've learned wisdom. And so if you're living wisely, your emotions will learn to follow that. And so then, yes, to some degree, you can use your instincts. You can see a situation, you're like, oh, I don't know for sure, but my instincts are telling me I should probably look in this direction. If you've been trained in wisdom, that can be useful. Still not absolute, but it can be useful, and we can make better choices. We can have a lot more confidence about our choices because we've trained ourselves in the wisdom of the Lord, right? And this I talk about confidence, but it takes humility. It takes less reliance on yourself, which gives you a greater confidence on what God is doing through you or his ability to give you wisdom in this situation. It's an interesting mix, but that's kind of how that works. And so the fourth point for today's devotion is just, is there any part of wisdom that's subjective? So part of the debate of our time is whether or not truth is objective or subjective, right? Whether it's something from out here that's true apart from me, or whether it's true from within myself only, and I see a truth and therefore it's true because of my perspective. Subjective truth. Well, same thing with wisdom. Is wisdom something that's just perspective driven, it's all subjective, or is there an objective wisdom? And I guess I'll suggest, or I'll state, is, at least in the biblical terms, no, it's not subjective at all. Wisdom is not a subjective thing. We don't all come to the table with our brand of wisdom to offer to the world. We come to the world and we need the objective wisdom of God to help us face and understand the world. We come with perspective still, but our perspective is not wisdom. Our perspective is merely our perspective. It's our view of the world. But the wisdom of God is objective. It's God's wisdom. And if we think subjectively about wisdom, then what we'll tend to think is that whatever I experience is teaching me something about what I need to know about me, and it's very self-centered, right, and very introspective, and we'll tend to think that my experience is an authority of its own, or my emotions are an authority of their own, and it's really unwise. It's actually very unwise. You'll end up in real trouble, and we'll see that as we go through the Proverbs. There's lots of Proverbs that talk about the danger of that kind of thinking, and so no, we need to realize wisdom is actually an objective thing, and we have a subjective experience of it, but it's an objective truth. And so God help us learn it. So that's it. I don't want to go too long. That's the devotional for today. And the idea is that you'll take this now and just run with it in your own devotional life. Just think about it, dwell on it, pray about it. I'm going to close in prayer here in a moment. Sometimes our sessions might be a little longer than this, but I'm trying not to go too long with them. But that's it. Involve God in your discussions of wisdom. And today's verse, I'll just read it again. To know wisdom and instruction, to discern the sayings of understanding. And hopefully, God willing, on Tuesday, I will do another one of these. And we'll see you then. But here, let's just pray. And God bless you all. So, God, please teach us your ways. Please teach us your wisdom and help us to become people of wisdom so that we can face the world we're in well. God bless each person that watches this video in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless each of you. And for those that did connect, thanks. I'm glad to see you here. God bless. And maybe, God willing, I'll see you Tuesday.